welcome to the Holistic-Yogi podcast. I am your host, Kamala Ingrid, and today I have the honors to introduce a good friend of mine and someone I work with. His name is David Abrahamian, and he is a chiropractor and big on wellness. So we're going to be jumping into his lifestyle and how he's incorporated some of his holistic healing into his practice. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. My name is Dr. David Abrahamian. I'm a chiropractic physician over in South Florida, and I appreciate you having me on your show today, Ingrid.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. As I was telling everybody, you're also someone I work with, and at the same time, you're big time into wellness. And I basically am very interested in seeing this kind of journey you jumped into recently. So let us begin. Let us know how you first started into the whole chiropractic world and what brought you into it and where you are today.
Well, I always knew I was going to be into something like health, wellness oriented. I was very much into sports and athletics and fitness growing up. And as I navigated the different health and medical fields when I was going through my undergraduates and later in high school, I just realized that the more holistic, the hands-on, the natural, the physical medicine was more up my alley than the typical allopathic route.
Okay. And well, you've had that since you were a child. I mean, that's something that you always wanted to do, because sometimes it takes us a lifetime to kind of figure out what we want. Some of us.
No, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew it was something with like maybe sports, maybe health, fitness, just keeping, helping people with their body, with their mind. And like I said, I got into kind of a general program in college, exercise science, which is like a stepping stone to anything. I was thinking of neurology, of orthopedic surgery, of things. And, once I started exploring the clinical routes, I realized it didn't really resonate with me. Things that were going on or the approach. And then once I got into more of like the physical, the hands-on, and started talking to some other doctors about how you can make it your own, like as a chiropractor. And you can incorporate the fitness, the wellness, the nutrition, not just adjusting and things like that. So, that's what I did, kind of made like my own hybrid and made it me.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I remember when I came when I first met you, that was the one thing I actually noticed, that you were very different from most chiropractors. So it made you, even your whole wellness center, that you kind of slowly adapted other methods of healing, which you can let us know a little bit of that.
Yeah, so far, obviously we have chiropractic work. I do a lot of physical therapy work. We have fitness work, infrared sauna, massage therapy, decompression work, yoga therapy, which you obviously help with. Now we have acupuncturists coming in, and I also work with with certain patients, sometimes the emotional components behind the pain, and so we start to unravel deeper rooted causes.
Yes,
so
yes.
We try to treat the whole.
Yes, that's beautiful. I actually like that and can we jump into how you are now and how you've come about with that part of the holistic part of it in your wellness? Jumping into a deeper cause, like digging into what the rooted issue is, because a lot of times people don't realize. I think we're becoming more aware, but our issues that we are mirroring in our bodies definitely come from a deeper rooted issue. It sometimes stems from childhood. So how did you come around?
Yeah, it just kind of organically started to come around, like the way through experience with different patients.
Mm-hmm.
When I would deal with acute injuries and things like that, they'd get better quick, a week or 2 or 3 weeks, then back to normal, and it'd be fine. But when we had something with more chronicity to it, like, we'd make some results, but then just kind of something kept trickling back. We look, all right, what else is there? The surface treatment's only lasting so long. And so that's where my brain's like, all right, there's got to be something more to this. And then notice little patterns too, like with some of my long-term patients, if they take a break from work or go on vacation or have something totally different, and all of a sudden their body's telling them, hey, I feel great, do more of this. It's like, I wonder where that's coming from. There's like a less physical, emotional, mental stress, and then the body starts to recover. And or if someone leaves a relationship or gets in a relationship or anything, gets a new job, the excitement, all of a sudden the body changes. So the light bulb went off. It's like, oh, there's more to this than just the physical, just the hands-on, just the exercise. It's a great starting point for a lot of people. And then we'll go deeper. And then in my own personal journey, when I got introduced to like plant medicine and I started doing some of my own personal journeys, it really showed me, an introspective look, allowed me to go deep within myself and say, wow, there's more than meets the eye in here and out here. And so it allowed me to start peeling things within myself, which I noticed changes in my physical, my mental, my emotional. And then when I spoke to other people involved in that same world and those same therapies, there's some breakthroughs with them, suffering from chronic illness their whole life, or terminal illness, or mental illness, or what they were deemed.
Right.
And after some of these type of therapies, when they went in and they really saw the roots of the problem, which is, it could be emotional repression, traumas, abuses, things they just never really processed, and they just kind of swept under the rug, which is their biological rug. It started to grow and it started to create into something more physical.
Yes. And what brought you into that journey? Like, what was the first thing you tried in the plant medicine? What was the first experience you had, and how open were you to doing it?
Well, it was my girlfriend at the time. She was reading a book on shamanic healing, and it was in regards to like ayahuasca. And so she's like, oh, I want to go do this. And, she was looking at something actually in Florida, and I started looking more into it, and I said, I don't know, maybe I want to be there for support and help, if you're going to be in a very vulnerable state. And I said, if we're going to do that, why don't we go where some of the origin or the roots or authenticity lies, which is, one of the countries in Peru. And we'll make a beautiful trip out of it, have some fun. So I was actually going for support. And then I'm the one who kind of had this enlightened, unbelievable experience. And so that kind of opens my door. So it was almost like through my ex-girlfriend is the door that opens for me. Like it was meant to be, so I'm deeply appreciative for her for opening that door for me.
What was that experience for you the first time versus where you are today now with your last journey that you've done? And how do you compare the two in process of, knowledge and understanding and just that transition you've taken since?
Yeah, it can be a little difficult to compare them because each journey can be so uniquely different and beautiful or trying or anything in between. But my first one, I went in with definitely more ego than I have now.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to run the show and be like, oh, I'll just, I'll prove myself. And within the first 20 minutes, I was like, nope. So what we call grandmother or ayahuasca, she showed me very, very quickly, like, no, you're not in control here. And I'm going to show you very quickly. So whooped my butt the first 20 minutes. And I got out of there and I was like, whoa, it just it spun me around upside down. And so I went to collect myself and just kind of process that. I kind of pulled myself out of it. And then I was very humbled by it. Yeah. And I said, oh, wow. I said, it's not strong to resist this. I'm actually being weak because I'm not allowing myself to be vulnerable. And, especially as a man in this society, we're taught, to kind of keep that armor up, that shield up, and not be vulnerable and not be emotional and not let go of control. Yeah. And so, I was having a conversation with people outside during that time. And I was like, oh man, I'm being weak with this, it's just like, I didn't just allow it to happen. That's me being scared of something, letting something else kind of guide me.
Were you scared when you first came into it? On that first day?
A little nervous, not sure. I didn't know what to expect. I'm very open. So, I'm open to try a lot of different things. And, so after that, first initiation of it, where she showed me who she was and not to be messed with, and just to be trusted and be respected, then I was like, all right, it's time to go back in. It was very humbling. It was like that experience was meant to happen so I could just kind of let go, what we call surrender, and just trust the process. And then it just opened up into this magnificent, beautiful, out of this body, out of this world experience, and just kind of showed me what my world consists of and everyone in it and what it's about and the path. And yeah, I mean, we could spend hours explaining that whole first experience.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people are, I know that when you do the ayahuasca, which is the mother of the, it teaches you mostly, I think it works more for people like that are very stubborn. Me, myself being one of them, you know, very stubborn, but very open to wanting to know the process. And I found myself really whipped out the first day that I did it, that I encountered. I was like, oh my God, this is so much. But for me, it was surrendering and being vulnerable. And from my life experiences, I had basically created a very hard shell for myself. Vulnerability was not even part of my vocabulary. And so that was a very tough journey for me. But the fact that I allowed myself to come back 2 days after to do it again, even though I was scared, I did it. And this time I allowed that a little bit of that, let loose a little. And it was a different journey. So, you know, I know that there's a lot of people out there that are very scared or don't want to try that because they've tried those mushroom, for example, psilocybin, and it's a different journey. That's more of a heart opening chakra, whereas the ayahuasca is more mind. That's from what I've learned. So, and most people have encountered more the heart opening chakra. So what is your different perspective on from your point of view with
different things that I've done, I personally, since I've been doing like spirit work, which is, you know, ayahuasca, and psilocybin actually is more spirit. Yeah. You can go, it's gentler. You can go more inner. Ayahuasca can go, I mean, it just depends on what your intentions are and what you're going for. But what I've seen, what I've experienced, what I've seen other people experience, I would probably recommend starting with something gentler, something more of a heart opener. You know, even cacao. Cacao is you can use that every day. Simple. It's a very euphoric. It allows the emotions to come through a little bit better if you're kind of stuck with, I don't know how to express myself. I'm uncomfortable with that. That's delicious. Who doesn't like dark chocolate?
So I know cacao ceremonies.
Yeah. So you can do like little ceremonial cacao and you know, set the intention, set the environment, make sure you're with the right people, like a little preparation for it. And you can have such a beautiful, 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 gentle, simple experience. Obviously, cacao is not hallucinogenic. It's not going to take you deep, but if you have good skills with like deep meditation, visualization, you can really just with a little cup of cacao, you can kind of go in yourself if you already have those, you know, deeper breath work, meditation work, visualization work. So I would really, in my opinion, I would start with more the heart, the gentler ceremonies. And there's so many different flowers and roots, white lily, sassafras, things. There's like 20 different type of heart opening plants. And like I said, even including cacao, and then maybe even graduate up, even San Pedro, which is a variation of like a peyote. That's actually, they call the grandfather.
The grandfather.
Yeah, very gentle. And do that one through the day, the morning, more in nature. And you just connect and you can see and just observe. And for the most part, very beautiful, very gentle, very introspective.
And pretty safe too. Very safe.
Yeah. Everything is pretty much safe. There's always going to be asterisks. Like if you have certain physical, mental conditions, you really don't want to be taking any type of pharmaceutical medications.
Right.
Want to clean up the diet a little bit. There's certain specific recommendations for each plant or each journey you want to do.
And we would say the diet has to do with, because of it allows you to open up. It's detoxification, right? It's like detoxing the mind and the body. That's why.
Well, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there. It helps you create clear passages. You know, you want to clear the physical, you want to clear the mind, you want to clear the heart, you want to clear, and then that allows you to access spirit. So you can have blockages anywhere. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I had emotional traumas from a child. It's a blockage in my life. You can also have physical ailments that if you neglect your body and take care, that's going to be a physical blockage. I mean, think about after Thanksgiving dinner, if you just stuff your face, is your mind working very well, or is anything you're like, oh, I just want to sit on the couch and
get the itis.
You got the itis. So your food, what you put in transforms your body,
right.
And so if there's blockages there's just more resistance on the path to self. So to me, that's the easiest place to start, is start to transform the physical body, you know, from the physical activities you do, what you put in your body, you know, simple things like that you can change starting right today.
And what would you say to people, to those that are listening right now? What does it feel like once you come out of the journey, and how long it takes you to process for you? And I know each one is different, but just to give them an idea.
So again, like you said, each one is so uniquely different. I've always felt peace, like euphoria, love, just a connection. Sometimes, depending on which ones I've done, I've felt a connection to what some will call like higher self for a prolonged period of time, where you just have just this insight everything you look at. It's like there's no question marks in your life. It's just like you look at something like, oh, and you just understand it.
Yeah.
Including yourself and people, and you're just like, oh wow, I didn't, you know, before I didn't see it that way. Now it's just like there's just no question marks. Everything just makes sense, or everything just is.
Yeah.
There's times I'm very tired, like, and my physical body is very energetically spent, because the way I process a lot, and I usually don't get a very good night's sleep. I'm usually up very late, and a couple hours sleep up the next day. But overall, my mindset and my well-being is just such a peaceful, euphoric, beautiful, loving, not a care in the world kind of state. And it's just, it's almost like just you accept the world and everything in it and everyone in it for exactly what it is. It's like you don't have an issue about anything.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And how are you now including that with your clients at this point? Going back again to where the beginning you brought it up. How are you using this method? And what comes up for you when you come across clients that are really stuck and they can't seem to process?
So now, because obviously the more that I peel in myself, the more that I grow and evolve, the more I can naturally and organically help those around me, because I can see deeper. I can relate now to more things will be familiar to me, because I'm like, oh, I pulled that up a year ago, or I went through that, or I understand that, or I saw that with someone I worked with in my journey space. And so now we're going deeper with the patients that are ready to receive, that are the individuals in my life that are ready. You can tell some just want to stay on the surface, and it's never like forcing someone to go deeper. Everyone has a time frame when they're ready, and you just let that unfold. I just let that unfold. So I'll ask questions. You know, it's just like, hey, you know, you've been dealing with this on and off for some years now, the same discomfort. You know, can you remember? Was there an origin? Was there an issue? Was there a timeline in your life? Was there an event that might have happened that you noticed that this coincided with, or whatnot? Or does this remind you of anything? When you like think of the pain, does it bring back an emotion? Does it bring back a person, an event, something that happened? You know, just asking simple questions, and then you can tell from there if they're ready to receive or go a little deeper. And like, oh yeah, I remember this, or you know, my ex-husband, or my mother, or my father. And it's like, okay, let's explore that a little bit more. Would you like to talk about it a little bit more? And most of the time, if they're just like, actually, yeah, I do want to talk about that. And then we start to connect the dots and see. It's just like, oh wow, this is anger. Like I still have anger. I'm like, because anger, emotions, everything's energy in our body. And you know, emotion is energy, all different levels of energy. So I'm like, if we don't release that, if I don't release that, if you don't release that, or change that, it has to go somewhere. So it just picks a spot, you find some real estate, and then it goes there.
Absolutely. And how are they when they come back? How do you see a change in them? Are they more? What happens to them as they return?
Are you talking about like patients as we talk about or unfold some of these things? Yes. Oh, it's beautiful. It's like, it's such a great transformation. Some is just very, very slight, very little in progress.
But that means a lot. It just those little slight changes. It's just that awareness that brings that person into the next level.
Awareness, acknowledgement. You know, acknowledgement. If you can't acknowledge something is there, then how can we do something with it if you don't believe it exists? So acknowledgement is always going to be the first part. And then when you acknowledge something in the body, you know, let's say there's a common term like, oh, my demons or my darkness, you know, all they want is to be acknowledged. Like, so say if I go in and I'm like, hey, I want to go introduce myself to my demons. As soon as I acknowledge they're there, it's like I want to shake their hand and say, hey, how you doing? They go up to the light. Because like now you acknowledge they exist. That's all those quote unquote, whatever you want to call it. I call them teachers. just want acknowledgement, because now you can acknowledge that there's something there, it exists, and now you have all these options of what you'd like to do with it going forward.
Yeah.
So definitely start with acknowledgement. So when patients acknowledge, sometimes it's very enlightening for them. Like, wow, I never realized that this chronic neck and back pain, or, you know, could be, I put all this pressure on myself, and where'd that pressure come from? And it's just like, and it's just beautiful transformation. Yeah. It allows them to liberate and also heal relationships sometimes too, reconnect with family, loved ones, and things like that, where they finally, and you realize that there was a disconnect.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. And another thing that you and I have encountered when we talk like this sometimes in at the office is about really being clear of what you say and how you, I guess, explain or talk to other people and be present and positive with words. You want to talk a little bit about that?
To me, that is one of the most important things that can be so transformative right off the bat, starting right now, is, if anyone's read the 4 agreements, be impeccable with your word.
Yes.
You know, because what I've seen in my life, words, thoughts, beliefs, they create your perception, which creates your reality. So the self-talk is very, very, to me, it's a very important thing to focus on. Because let's say, for instance, like, oh man, I'm really bad at this, or oh, I'm no good at that, or I was told like, oh, I'm no good, or that's what you believe and that's what you become. And then, so if there's a certain task or event or something you want to do, and you've been constantly telling yourself I'm bad at that, you're just going to naturally avoid it, because you're like, well, what am I going to do with something I'm bad at, or I've been told I'm bad, right. Or, you know, I'm not capable, or, you know, I'm ugly, or I'm fat, or I'm this. You know, watch the story you tell yourself, because you're right. The creator and author of your own story here, which is your life. And so I like to write, for me, I like to write a love story, a fun story, an adventure story, an excitement story.
Yes.
A joyful story, because that's what starts to create in my life. The more I focus those inner thoughts, my words, it's just like, whoa, I was just thinking this and here it is. Or it's just like, wow, I wasn't able to do this before. And then I told myself, yes, you can. Yes, I am this. I am good. Or I'm just in the process of becoming better with a little practice. Right. You know, instead of saying, oh, I can't do this, or I suck, or I'm bad at that, I said, you know what? This is something that I can do, I'm capable of. And I'm in the progress of getting a little bit better every day as I practice. Yes. And boom, my story just becomes so doable as opposed to can't.
Yes. And people don't realize that we can manifest anything just based on what we're saying, our actions and our thoughts. Our thoughts are key to being pure in order for us to create what we want to see manifest before us, you know, which is, you know, allow a very smooth transition, because life is an ebb and flow. We're going to constantly be changing, but we want to change to better improve ourselves. So I think it's important for, like you said, your thoughts are what you say, what you think, and what you say, and what you do in action should be all in alignment.
Yeah, words create. There's a couple before, if we switch topics. I just want to give you a personal example. For me, is I really spend more time trying to remove absolutes. So like I need, or I must, or I have to, things like that. So if I use the word I need something, that creates necessity in my life. And if I don't automatically have it, my brain was just told, well, I need to have it. So it almost creates like an incompleteness, so like a void, because it's like without it, it's like, uh-oh, I'm supposed to have this. I just told myself. So, and that can create an anxiety, a depression, something over time. The longer you're without whatever that entity or object or person is. So I would say something, instead of need, I would say, oh, I would like to have that, or I would like to do this. I don't need it. If I don't have it, I'll be just fine. So it gives me the opportunity to still acquire, but it tells myself that without it, life goes on and I'm whole and I'll be just fine.
Yeah, that's nice. That's beautiful. And is there any other like things that you want to, any other kind of holistic journey that you are jumping into? Because I know right now you're pretty good in your wellness area. You eat very well. You have a very clear mind of where you want to go. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
5 years? Well, I know where I'm going to eventually be. The timeline, I'm just trusting, you know, so whenever it flows, I would love it to be, you know, in a couple months.
Right.
I just don't want to, I don't want to rush it though, you know, so I'm going to allow it. And that's where my trust and my faith and just going with the flow comes in, is like when I know, when I'm ready, I'm ready. And so I see more of like a holistic, all-inclusive wellness healing center, you know, incorporating all these different Eastern medicines, medicines from South America, rituals, techniques, healing modalities, where we have different levels and graduations and things, where we can kind of all put them together where everyone has something. So if you come there and it's like, oh, here, this is what we feel will be your great starting point here. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a plant medicine. It could be something like sound healing or acupuncture, you know, meditation, visualization, Tai Chi, anything.
Yeah.
Just an all-inclusive wellness with, I would love to bring all the professionals from, you know, all over the world, every country, every continent, under one roof. And then there's something for everyone. And then it's almost like a graduation.
Nice. And what would you tell right now our listeners regarding healing trauma?
Say again?
What would you tell our listeners about healing trauma? What would be one of your advice, or how to handle it if they are stuck and don't know what to do?
Feeling is healing. Simple.
I like that.
Feel into it, you know, because when we're in the mind is the storyteller, and you can create anything, assume things. And from someone I work with, I loved what he taught me, is the mind is the youngest part of our body. But yet we listen to it all the time. So the body has wisdom that's been passed on since the beginning of time through our DNA. Since the beginning of existence, we have body language, body wisdom. So it's wise beyond our time, and we don't even realize it. Like when we get that intuition, we get that gut feeling, we get the goosebumps, we get the chills, we get that tightness or butterflies, or we get that knot in our stomach. It's body language that's guiding us. So when we learn to feel and not think, the body can guide you much more effortlessly than the mind will, because the mind can create like, I should go this way. But no, think about that. And what about this? Oh, and you didn't think about that one. And it's like, oh, you just created like 18 paths for me. Which one do I do? And and depending on your state of mind, your energy, your mind will be like, well, then go this one. So it can create a lot of confusion, a lot of storytelling, if you don't have that voice, that inner voice, understood yet. So I invite people to listen to your body. When you think about a trauma and things, you know, obviously start and then feel into it, feel it, and understand what feeling comes to mind. Is it resentment? Is it anger? Is it something with self-worth? You know, anything. All of them are very welcome. None of them sort of, you know, is a judgment, anything. Don't, you know, try not to feel guilty or shameful, but if those are the feelings you feel them anyway, because that's going to give you the story that and the experience of where that was created. Because once your body feels it, it can bring back a memory. The body never forgets a thing. Never forgets a thing. So yeah, being in touch more with learning how to feel and let feelings guide you. And then you can pick and choose. Like if you have a feeling that doesn't resonate with you, like say, well, I didn't realize there's so much anger, judgment left in your body. Where'd that come from? And then as you feel into it, like it'll take you back. It'll take you there. And then you have the opportunity to then transmute, transform, change, release, and then create and fill that space with something else. Otherwise, it'll just kind of come back. So like if I take anger or judgment or anything like that out, I want to put something fun in, something loving, something joyful, acceptance, gratitude. And then the body's like, oh, wow, this is so much lighter. This is so much more fun. This is what I heal and I resonate with. And the more you can fill yourself with higher, you know, what we call like higher vibrational frequency, emotions and energies, and watch the magic happen in the body. Watch the healing, watch the disease start to fold away, watch the pain start to decrease. Watch the body just heal itself.
Isn't that crazy how the body takes on those? And sometimes like you look at family history over the lineage, and they all either have the same similar type of, I guess, either if it's some type of cancer, say breast cancer, it'll be a repeated thing over the family history. Now it has a lot to do with nurturing, and it's like a pattern that they keep repeating. So it's learning to break that pattern and finding that source from your roots in order for you not to pass it on to the next lineage, meaning your children and so forth. That's one of the things I came across my life, and breaking those patterns and what has been passed on from one generation to another. And it was a big journey for me to do that, and I see now the difference with my child and where she's at versus where I was and everybody before me. A lot of those things have come into play, and I see it, mirroring. So it's important when you talk about how these modalities of understanding them, what's in our heads and how we put it into actions creates a story for ourselves. And it's important to change that story when you want something better for yourself. So I like what you brought up. Any positive highlights that you want to say to our listeners today? And
I just wanted to tell you, I totally agree that the generational energy, the generational trauma, the generational stories are what are encoded in our DNA. And a lot of people think, oh, it's just genetic and then so I'm stuck with it. Well, you're stuck with it if that's the story you think that you tell yourself. Because as you change those emotions, as you change those stories, that changes the information that's in your DNA. Think of DNA as just like computer, just encoded information. It's just like different bits on a computer, a different RAM or hard drive, and you can start to change that and change the programming. So, and that starts with your belief systems, your thoughts, your words, your actions. So I can be the ones that stops all that generational patterns right in its tracks, and you can create a whole new generation for that family, and for everyone that's still around in it, and even past, because energy is still around. It just transforms. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
You believe in reincarnation?
I believe, I mean, if that's, again, someone's story, someone's reality, that'll be your reality. If that's what you want to believe. I believe it happens. For me, you get different roles or different people. You can come back as different people if you choose to. So whatever you choose to believe is your reality. But to me, there's no right or wrong. That's subjective to the user, to the individual. Right. So yeah, I think it believes because it exists. I've seen it. I've heard people talk about it, so I believe it exists. Yeah.
Right. And how long do you think? What are the things that I actually wanted to say? Kind of go back a little bit on the plant medicine regarding the transitioning. When you come out of it on that day, how long does it take you to process something? And do you think it's addictive? Just because there's a lot of people that don't really know much about it. I kind of want to hear it from your end. Do you think it's addictive? And do you think also how long does it take them to process? And I already know my journey, but
again, the processing, starts to unfold sometimes a little bit, sometimes a lot, sometimes not at all. Again, it's so unique to the individual and what you're open and what your intentions are. I will say the most important thing about doing any type of journey work, whether it's group or self, is integration. So the next day, integration is just as, if not more important than the actual journey itself. Because your brain is in a state of neuroplasticity, which means you're literally changing the pathways, the circuits, the neurons, and you're recreating a new default setting for yourself.
Yes.
And so if all of a sudden you go through and you see all these things that night or during that day, and you're like, oh, this makes so much sense, and you don't do anything else about it, that'll last maybe a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden you're like, I feel like I'm back to what I was before. So integration, speaking about it, practicing it, going back and visualizing, and then that kind of solidifies, that neuroplasticity to become your new default. So it's not just a temporary effect. And then, so it's like anything, go to the gym, you practice makes perfect. You're not going to go to the gym and look like Arnold after your first workout. It's practice makes perfect. And then when you stop the work or stop the integration, you resort back.
Also intention, going in with an intention of what you want to see yourself work with. And because a lot of people I've noticed in my experience from my time of going and journeying in groups, a lot of them that do this a lot and they don't seem to progress forward is that they're not setting intentions. They're just going in, they're just diving without, a method or anything. They're just not even setting any intentions. And then when they come out of it, it's more for the experience, but they're not even integrating after. That I've noticed a lot.
Yeah, and that, like I said, that's why it's important to work with somebody, like a professional who does this, and sort of, and trust your gut when you meet those people. Because I would say, now that this is becoming more familiar, mainstream, there's clinical research all over the place. You look through John Hopkins, there's documentaries all over the Gaia Network, Netflix, everything. We can find a lot more information.
Absolutely.
And a lot more people are seeking this stuff. So there's going to be also another side that kind of exploits it a little bit, commercializes it. So I would say trust your judgment, because there are unfortunately going to be some entities, some organizations, some individuals that will kind of
exploit.
Oh yeah, come in and it's kind of more for financial gain. And you can tell when there's an authenticity to the individual or group that you might be working with. I want to get back to another question, because you asked about, like, is it addicting? From what I've seen, no. I don't see an addiction. Now, there obviously are always going to be unique circumstances. If you come from a very addictive personality, and you're coming just to escape, like, you can use anything to escape reality. Whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's food, whether it's people, you can use it as a vice. So that's where the intention comes in. If you use it just to escape, just to be like, oh, I just want to literally get out of this world for a little bit, then that's what it'll become to you. So I really, really invite people to treat it with respect. It's a lot of these plants are very sacred. They've been used since before we can even track, for thousands of years. So yes, they've been very, very sacred. Don't abuse it. If you do, it'll abuse you back. Like I said, what you go in with is what you'll receive. So go in with pure intentions, go in with understanding, acceptance. I want to know more about myself, whatever it is you might be looking to experience, expand, explore. I would really highly recommend going in with a pure intention.
Yes.
I have seen some people, an acquaintance who I knew, that's what they were using it for. They were using it for an escape, and they wound up in not so good place. So that was part of that person's learning process, though. So that was part of his journey to get to that point, to realize, wow, I was abusing this, I was mistreating this, and in turn, that's what I got. That's what I got, was I was abusing myself, pretty much.
Right.
So luckily they learned, and they came through that. It's very safe, very safe, and I highly, 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 highly recommend work with a facilitator, shaman, energy worker, someone who's done, very experienced, and knows how to guide and assist, hold face.
I was very fortunate in that aspect, thank God. But my experience with other people that have gone in, and what I see is they weren't as fortunate, but I understood it, and it helped me a lot through my process. And I've enjoyed the journey, because I realized I got, every single time I went in, I came out with something new, incorporated into my practice. And before I know it, it's made me a whole different person, in such a short, I want to say I would only do 2 a year. And I did it for 6 times in the ayahuasca. And I don't feel like I need that one anymore. I do now the heart plant medicine, the psilocybin, and it's occasionally when I feel there's that energetic pull that pulls me, I'm due for one. There's information coming in, and usually that's what happens for me. And I come in and I implicate it. I'm in a new journey now, applying a lot of things into my project, and they usually come in this format. So it helps me in that aspect to implicate it into my everything I'm putting together at this moment. That's coming.
That's beautiful.
Into fruition down the road. So, and this was one of them. The podcast was the weirdest thing. And I didn't expect it coming into fruition ever. I really didn't expect it, but I said, okay, I'll do it, whatever. Let's just do and see what happens. And here we are. It's naturally flowing for me. So this is interesting.
And as we talked about words, I'd invite you to say it's not the weirdest thing. I would say something more like, oh, this is an amazing thing.
It's amazing.
And I can expect this to happen. I can believe it to happen, because it is happening.
Yes.
Because like I said, even though it's happening now, if you still put like us as weird, it might take away from
That's true.
what can come to you, because there might be
That's
part of
true.
your brain that's like, I don't know if
Not
I'm
letting
still
it
kind
happen.
of, yeah. Yeah. And those are those simple little changes that can make the world of difference
Yes.
for an individual. Is something is that we use all the time, weird, or, it's like it's so exciting and it's joyful and it's fun. And I look forward to more and seeing what unfolds.
I love
And then
that.
boom,
Yes.
that just opens up this big path, and it removes part of the brain that thinks like it's almost like a little resistant, because it's like,
Yes.
well, it's kind of weird. And then so remove that, it's like, no, it's not weird anymore. It's accepted.
Yes.
And now it's like, boom, now it
Well,
attracts.
as I said,
Yeah.
it is exciting. It's an exciting venture I'm taking in now. So this is good. Anything you want to leave at the moment? You have any words of wisdom to our listeners at this moment?
Be you.
Be you.
Yeah. From what I've personally seen, why I'm here, this experience is the road back to self. The journey to authentic self, not the identity that's been placed on you, the name that's been given to you, the role that you've been expected to do. Be you. That's where you'll find one of the ways you'll find inner peace, you'll find life to just flow, is to honor yourself and feel into it more. Don't try not to think as much, get more into here, feel into it, be yourself, trust your gut, and go with the flow. Yeah,
Beautiful.
keep things simple. Be simple and consistent.
Yeah,
Those two things will get you anywhere you desire to be.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, thank you, David. This was awesome. I thank you for taking the time, because I know you're very busy. So, and thank you for taking the time to be part of this holistic journey and letting us know your story and letting everybody else know, that everything is possible. So, and healing is definitely possible. It's all up here. Change your story.
Here.
Yes.
And there. Yep. And then here, out here.
Yes.
It's everywhere.
Hey, thank you. Well, thank you so much.
Very grateful.
I'm very grateful for you, your participation. And until next time, I'll see you later today.